Of our regular supporters joining our program, I'd like to say welcome to each and every one of you. It is always a pleasure to have you here joining us every all for joining. I'm seeing the regular supporters, Faithful Truly. I'm seeing Sandra Halley. I am seeing Anasa all the way from Linden. I am seeing Sharisa from Canada and several other persons joining our program. It is always a pleasure to have you here. How are you feeling, guess?
I am well. Thank you so much for having me.
hmm I deliberately didn't let them know your name yet because I want to keep them in anticipation. So, welcome to our program, Atalia. It is a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Tell us about yourself and your role in business.
Okay, as we said before, my name is Athalia Israel,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm from Outlier Zone Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
We are a fire coaching company, which means financial independence, retire early.
Okay, nice.
Do you have a year that you plan on achieving financial independence this year? Did you set that year?
Awesome. I never thought of that.
Okay, so that's where we come in because we work with companies to help increase their employees'
Mm-hmm.
productivity. Because
Okay.
if you go to work and you just got paid and days after the salary is gone, you cannot focus.
Stress.
Hence, that's where we come in and we work along with the company so that the employees have some form of financial planning.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been doing that since 2018.
Mm-hmm.
We've worked with about 30 companies and definitely seen persons move but like you said, not thinking about financial independence to the
Mm-hmm.
point of setting a date that by this time I just don't want to have my job. I want to
Okay.
have something else working for me. So essentially, those are the training that we provide.
Nice. So, how did you get into studying and to teaching and offering these kind of services to companies? What sparked the interest?
Funny enough, you would ask, it was my inability to manage my finances.
Mm-hmm.
You would agree that we go to school for all of these years, nursery, primary, secondary, even for those of us who make it to tertiary.
Mm-hmm.
Yet still, they don't teach us about money and how to make a lot of it and how to keep it.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, I found myself in that rut of just making money and spending money. And because I was at the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
I was looking for a solution. And when I found it with the help of my husband, my loving husband, Mr. Israel, I said I needed to share this with others
Okay.
because I do believe that once you start learning about finances, it's like reading.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us growing up, we didn't know how to read, but then we learned how to read.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that when we learn how to deal with money, we have that peace and then we could aspire for more. And that is where I started with my first company, Fun
Mm-hmm.
Park Rentals, and I started figuring out about this thing, investing in myself and my financial education.
Mm-hmm.
And that is separate. You know, we go to school, we get a degree and all of that, but that has nothing to do with managing and growing income.
Okay.
And as I learned some things with the help of my husband, that's where we birthed the company that would teach children as well, because
Mm-hmm.
so far we've been able to teach about 11,000 children
Mm-hmm.
by going into schools and teaching them about money and assets and starting a business while young, and about 3,000 plus employees we've been working with so far.
Lovely. And I admire the fact that you were able to start a business out of your own personal struggles. And I guess that would have helped to shape your passion into going into entrepreneurship.
Definitely.
Did you have, were you working with any institution before you started your business?
Definitely, I worked for about 5 to 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
My first job, I got fired from that job
Mm-hmm.
because they said my attitude was not fitting for the job.
Okay.
So what happened is after I got fired from that job, I started looking at my attitude,
Mm-hmm.
and as I worked on it, my next job, I was in a supervisory position.
Excellent.
And I felt if I didn't get fired,
Mm-hmm.
then I would not have looked at my attitude to be prepared for the next opportunity. So,
Mm-hmm.
the listeners listening, sometimes things hold us back so that we could go forward.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to be able to examine ourselves to see what exactly those things are
Mm-hmm.
so that it can make us ready for the next opportunity. So I did work about 5 to 6 years and then I started my business.
Okay. So, how did you feel going into entrepreneurship? I mean, the thought of having to get up and to go about your daily duties and to push extra because entrepreneurship is no joke and you want to be able to survive and to be successful.
Yes. I always had a dream of owning my own business.
Mm-hmm.
I never really liked the idea of people telling me when I could eat, when I could take a break, and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
More importantly, I always envision creating something for my children
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know about you, but when I was looking for a job, you're sending out hundreds of applications and people then calling
Mm-hmm.
you back.
I can relate.
So I'm like, I don't want my children to go through this. So
Mm-hmm.
although I was working after I got a job,
Mm-hmm.
I always said I want to start something that my children could be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2014, I started Fun Park Rentals because I have a love for children,
Mm-hmm.
and we would rent bouncy castles and trampolines and stuff.
Okay.
So I started that with the excitement of moving from employee to being my own boss.
Mm-hmm. So I love this. So you're now a serial entrepreneur. Several businesses. I was at a business seminar on Sunday and somebody said something to me. Well, they were discussing and they said, slavery still exists because working for somebody who tells you when to take lunch, when to come to work, when to go home, that is some form of slavery. So I can imagine, and I was able to relate that to what you said about wanting the need to be independent and to have your own control and to just succeed on your own. Lovely. So you mentioned earlier about the fire movement. Let us dive deeper into that. Let us
Yes.
understand it. And for persons, while you're getting ready, for persons who are now joining the Facebook Live, feel free to share it. If you know somebody who can be able to benefit from financial management advice, let them tune in right now because we've got an interesting guest on our call and we're going to go into the fire movement. Particularly if you are from a company or you're an entrepreneur who also have staff within your key and you want to invest in them to see their grow, let them know that they need to tune in right now. So, right back at you.
Fire.
Mhm.
When you hear of retirement, what comes to mind?
I think of old age.
Old age. Correct.
Yeah, old age.
And that was the biggest problem that I saw.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk to young people about retirement, they think, yeah, I have time.
Mm-hmm.
However, the fire movement that we have brought to Guyana
Okay.
is basically financial independence,
Mm-hmm.
which means that if you're employed, if you have a business, the end game is to use your salary to build wealth.
Mm-hmm.
That will eventually give you freedom.
Okay.
When I asked you that question, did you set a date for yourself? Meaning, is it 3 years, 5 years? That by that time you want to have something working for you.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not the active participant going after the money, but you have something working for you. So when we talk about the
Interesting.
fire movement, we're talking about a level of independence that you have something working for you. So now that you were clear on it, when would you want to have some level of financial independence?
Well, I'd like to see next 5 years because I'm still young, if you notice. And according to what you're now mentioning, I need to put systems in place so that I can retire early and be able to enjoy the benefits of life. I mean, I like to travel.
Right.
So, and I'm very happy that you would have started teaching these things in schools because many of us are not trained to handle finance. And as funny as it may sound, persons are not trained to handle success and money. So what happens when somebody is not accustomed to having huge sums of money have it? What do they then do? Do we go and buy one set of cars? Do we go and buy some big house and something that is not bringing us money? Or what is it we do?
The education comes before the elevation. Like we're having this conversation, you have just said, like, in the next 5 years, I want to have some level of financial independence. And you're watching, like, this program is all about you. Set a date, whether it be 3 years, 5 years. I always encourage under 10 years because a lot of times we live like we have time.
Interesting point.
But if you're working for $100,000, it meant that for last year, for 12 months multiplied by 100, $1.2 million have passed through your hand. And imagine if you would have put that towards your financial independence goal. You see how further ahead? So if you're listening, set that date now of when you want to have some level of financial independence. Just don't think about you. Think about the legacy that you're building and what you want to leave for your children. That's very key.
All right. So help us on the path after we would have identified the date or the year that we want to achieve financial independence. What then do we do? I guess this is called beginning with the end in mind.
Well, you set your date, which is, you said, is the next 5 years. Then you need to calculate your total expenses.
Okay.
Ideally, give me a figure. What's an average total expenses per month?
Was it 100,000 or
Good.
more?
All right, 100,000 if you add in some for saving, investing, let's say 150. Good. So $150,000 and you multiply that by 12. So that figure lets you know how much income you need coming in every month. So that could give you, like, paying your bills. Because ideally you want to get to a point. I like to use, there's so many other things, but for example, let's say you do to invest in an apartment building. You have, if you want to live downstairs, you rent upstairs, or you want to have 2 to 3 apartments, right? And every month you're getting a little 300,000 coming in. So you spend that 5 years investing in that. And at the end of the 5 years, you have that. And that's bringing you 300,000. Would that cover your 150,000?
Not really.
Yes, if you're getting 300,000 from the apartment building and your expenses are 150, would the apartment give you some form of freedom?
It would bring some kind of freedom, but I mean, by the time let's say the year goes by, all of the expenses will increase significantly.
And then you have to come up with another asset.
So,
But
in other words, you have to keep finding multiple streams of income to be able to survive.
Yeah, but you have to start with one solid thing that is working for you. And then, because if you have that, then you wouldn't have to push so hard to get to pay your bills, because you would have something. You see the vision?
Yes, I'm seeing.
Good.
Okay, guys, so we're getting some financial advice here, so feel free to ask your questions. I see Ali is on the chat and she's saying very interesting topic. I'm also seeing Jacqueline D. Habru and there's Nita Croker joining on our live. So, after after we would have set our date and we started putting our actions in motions, what happens when there's a setback or so on? Because you have to be consistent. And that is something that many of us lack, especially if 2 mornings we find something pops up that we didn't cater for and our money has to be utilized.
Excuse me. Well, you said something early that you want to travel. You have to know why you're doing this. Have you ever just had money that you're saving in the bank? You don't really have a specific thing that you're saving for. Then something happened, you take out a 10,000. You take out a 20,000. But if you have that this is an apartment fund, it means that as you get income, you have to set aside some to invest, some to save, and then you want to have some to donate, some to spend. Okay? So this sectionalize everything so that if I come to you and I say, Marlon, I'm having a little difficulty, you can help me with 100,000. Which one of those section would you go from? Would you go into investment to lend me the 100,000? Would you go into your savings? Would you go into your donation, or would you go into your spend?
I
Which
go
one?
into the donation.
Good. And then even
There's
self,
no
if
guarantee.
no, you said there's no guarantee you have any in there. But ideally, that's the management that we're talking about. Because when you think of donations, you also have birthdays, family members. You want to give them things, so it would come from that. But you have to, no, you don't have to. I don't like to use the word have to, but deciding that I want to have this financial independence within a specific time, that gives you the encouragement to do what you have to do and not jeopardize that.
But if I can share, for me personally, every time some money comes to me, I feel obligated to spend. I mean, there are several things I would see, and even though it's not a need or something that I haven't budgeted for, there's an urge to spend, spend, spend. And I also find that when I'm broke, I am the most wisest, like honestly, because then I started calculating what I'm broke. I need money. I need to buy Chinese food, and I need these things. How am I going to get it? And then I start calculating how I'm going to minimize spending and how I'm going to pull on the savings and pull from somewhere to get some money. And even when the money comes, I'm going to say like, okay, you have to make a sacrifice. It's best you die in an empty stomach, in a full belly, rather than an empty stomach. So sacrifice, you buy food and those things. And many people struggle.
It starts with the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say the inside, I remember one of my turning points. It was my aunt's birthday, and I went to, my responsibility was to buy the knives, the fork, and the knives, the fork, and the plates and cups. And I remember going into this store, and when I checked my purse, I only had $1,200. And the thing was about 2.5. And in that store, I had a shift. And because I saw other persons buying and shopping and shopping, and I didn't like the feeling that I had inside that I needed something and I could not afford it. So for me, in that store that day, I decided that I don't ever want to get to a point that I need something or I want to show appreciation for someone that I love and I couldn't afford it. So for me, that made me wanted to wise up. And even a conversation that my husband and I had, he said that if you don't get this together in managing and looking into the future and acting, our children will have the same temperament and everything. And for me, the generational breaking, that was enough for me to want to make a change. So if you're listening, you would have to decide what is it that you want for your future, and the things you want to pass on to your family. Because think about your family. What is your family known for? Is it that you want it to be known for wealth and prosperity? Then it starts with you making that decision. And more importantly, it could be your picture on the wall that your children and grandchildren and great grandchildren could see. Because of that man, his sacrifices, we're better off today. So it could be you, just by making that commitment to that decision, like, let this end with me. Because there are persons who know how to manage, they know, but it's something that we have to learn, and it's something that we have to start from inside.
And then I love the point that you made, because I find that a lot of us today, we didn't receive anything from our mothers and our fathers or grandparents and so on. And maybe because of lack of knowledge, they weren't able to set systems for us, and because we didn't have enough, similar we're going to do for our children. And I love the fact that you started to embark on a journey to train persons so that we can somewhat break that cycle and be able to prepare for a better future for our children. Because a lot of times people struggle and we can help to pave that way forward so that their lives can be different. I mean, for instance, let us look at the persons who have fought for our independence. Because of their sacrifice, we were able to benefit, and we have to continue to fight so that our children and grandchildren can be able to benefit and to have that peace and that kind of environment that we so had craved for. So I love the fact that you would have started your journey. What was your greatest achievement along that line?
Greatest achievement. I think I would say first it starts with family
Mm-hmm.
because I grew up in a home with my mom and my siblings.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the decisions that I made when I looked around and my father wasn't there. I said, I will break this.
Mm-hmm.
I will get married and I will start a family.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the first, I would say, greatest achievement in understanding that if you want to build wealth, you need a family. This whole independent woman stuff, there are people for that,
Mm-hmm.
but that does not resonate with me because I'm thinking if you want to build wealth, you need to have the whole package of a father, a mother, and children in a healthy environment.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that is one of my biggest achievement,
Okay.
getting married and starting a family,
Mm-hmm.
because that really helped in terms of the businesses that we have, because we do have a transportation business, we have the fun park business, and in terms of Outlier Zone Caribbean, the family is first. And when you have that family, you can set your goals and you're working together.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've also seen, and this is a lot, I'm talking a lot to my women, growing up in a single house headed family, you
Mm-hmm.
see your mother doing everything. And then you put on this superwoman coat and you think you want to do everything. But it's tiring for me. There was a point that I said, I can't do this. It's not you can't afford to be feminine if you have to thinking about every bill, everything is broken, you need to fix.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say my greatest achievement is making that decision that I want to start a family
Mm-hmm.
and sticking to it and being that woman that would attract a man of God that would lead the family. And I would say my family is my greatest achievement.
Well, thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
We admire the work and your resilience. So, could you just shed some light on some of the training you would have received?
Training. When I was at the point that I recognized that I didn't know a lot about finances,
Mm-hmm.
the Small Business Bureau is a hub, and if you're not aware of them, you need to find them because they provide lots of support and training. I've attended Action Coach, and that was way back 2016, and I've learned so much from Action Coach. If you'd have, well, they're now Action Invest. Find them because we think we're running a business and actually we're hustling.
Mm-hmm.
And before Action Invest, I was hustling.
Mm-hmm.
You go in for the dollar, you have something, you want to sell it. But then when you think of a business, a generational business that you want to be sustainable,
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about systems and putting systems in place so that that can run the business and remove you from the business. So Action Coach, and I've always had a lot of coaches like the Lindell Dancy Black, Cerulean Inc. There's so many. And if you want to go far, it makes sense to reach out to people and be willing to pay.
Mm-hmm.
Be willing to pay your way. And I'm going to tell you, once you're willing to pay your way and invest in some training and so on and apply it, because a lot of us get into the thing of we going to this training and we're not
Just feel motivated.
applying, and you want this certificate but it's in the application. So there's countless. I've always had coaches. I've invested a lot coaches outside of Guyana, and I have no complaints.
Awesome, and I love the fact that you have mentioned about systems and action coach because I frequently interact with a business who's a client of action coach, and she would have said one of the things they thought is as soon as anybody should be able to come to your business and follow the system and be able to do something in your organization.
Right.
And many times we don't think about sustainability. How does the business go on beyond me? If I'm not there, can the business function? So when you look at that, indeed, it's a difference between a hustler and a business. So, did you receive any kind of special award with all of these great stuff that you've been doing?
In 2019, we were selected for the Caribbean Innovation Competition, and our solution to ending the paycheck to paycheck lifestyle with our piggy bank, our money bank that has the four sections: save, spend, donate, invest. And we were shortlisted from about 15,000 plus
Okay.
around the world.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And we were selected to go to represent Guyana in Colombia.
Nice.
Never heard much of the place except for the movie Colombiana. And
Good
it
one.
was such a blessing because we were able to go to Colombia, all expenses paid, and we were able to meet other persons there. And there were so many other opportunities that came off of after that, like the Entrepreneurship World Cup. We were shortlisted amongst that as well.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I would say the biggest thing that we would have done is our training that we go into schools. And we've been able to help from 2019 to now about 11,000 children. We teach them about assets. Assets meaning things that work for you, liabilities, and we plant the seeds that you can start a business from being in school.
Nice.
So apart from the awards and all of that, I think that's the biggest, because when we plant those seeds in their mind from so young and they start businesses, like one of our gems, he started a soap and he's in Guyana.
Okay.
He started a soap business and he holds sales for weddings and stuff.
Lovely.
Because we're not just teaching them about you make one soap and you sell it, but we're telling them, listen, you can make it and sell it all at once. We have Parker James, she has businesses and she writes books and get them sold on Amazon. These are children under 10.
Nice.
So I think those are the biggest things, apart from working with the companies and working with the employees and changing the generation. I would say the children is where my heart is, and we have been able to help a lot.
Nice. So, what do you think business support organizations can do to help your business spread the word and to be able to reach a wider population?
Well, first I would start with the government. I would ask the government or whomever is listening from the government if they can shorten the amount of time that you wait for payment.
A sore issue.
Because if you have a growing business and you work with the government, you would know that as a growing business, you have persons to pay and all of these things. So I think that would be a great help if that time can be shortened. One. That being done, in terms of promoting the message of financial independence, I think we do work, like I mentioned, we go into the schools. I think we can continue to do that. And the beautiful thing is that when we started in 2018, it was just us basically in the space.
Okay.
But now we have others like Matthew, he does the common sense. We have the Miss World, who is also dealing with financial literacy.
Okay.
So it's all about collaborating because we all have the same message that
Yes.
let us become financially smart
Together we
to
win.
build wealth. Together we win. Amen.
Yes. That's very good.
That's what I would say.
One of the things I would want to suggest, as we were
Yes.
discussing, I'm not sure how it was in your time, but lots of small businesses are having difficulties to access finance. And what I find some of the small businesses, they're they're unable to get a grant from the Small Business Bureau or several organizations because one, you have to be NIS compliant, two, you have to be GRA compliant, and by the time you go around to get all of these things, the system frustrates you and you just give up.
Okay.
But you're in desperate need of the service. So without accessing those, having those documents, how am I going to get a compliance to be able to access the loan? So what I'd want to recommend is for persons to maybe have tiers. So when you come, we work with you, we give you this grant, and when you're up to standard, then we start asking you for the compliance so that persons, you start going up the ladder rather than you just have to jump with a whole heap of faith that, I mean, faith without works is dead.
Okay. So
So
you're not asking me a
no,
question.
no,
You're
no, no,
putting
no, I'm
something
saying
out
that.
there.
So what do you now think about it? Because you're dealing with financial management.
Can you drive a car without a license?
Yes.
Is it legal if the police stop you and you do not have a driver's license?
It's not legal.
In other words, we're talking about something that is sustainable
Mm-hmm.
and something that can scale.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about building a family business that will continue.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get our papers right. I'm sorry.
No, indeed, we have to have a papers right.
And it's like I was talking to a colleague, and she said she started a business
Mm-hmm.
last year, but she did not really promote the business
Mm-hmm.
because she recognized that to get government contracts and
Mm-hmm.
all of these things, she needed her NIS compliance. So she said she focused on getting all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So 2023,
Mm-hmm.
she's moving.
Mm-hmm.
I would encourage you. It may seem like a lot of steps to take, but when you take them, you can get it. You're gonna get it, and you want to be doing things the right way. You don't want to have an opportunity that's $1 million opportunity, but you don't have your papers. So that's what I would say.
Okay. But when you look at the amount of people who are struggling and cannot afford to wait so long, like what your colleague waited for, then it becomes a matter of urgency. And if we to look back at the example with the license, the greatest person or driver don't necessarily need a license. People like us sit down to create these things for us to provide a framework. So likewise, why not give persons an opportunity to be able to work with them and to be able to come up to standard, and when you're able to comprehend and you're able to get things going, all right, we need you now to have a compliance. Because how then do you now tell somebody who is not very educated to go wrong and run around and get this and to get that? And that just frustrates the system, especially if it's a single parent and they get several children to send to school and to get things done.
Well, that's where Together We Win comes in, and you maybe can look into dealing with helping persons. And I know you do a lot with in terms of small businesses and stuff. But ideally, if you're going into business, you need to learn these things.
Yes, indeed.
Because you want to go for the big things. So you need to learn it. And if your organization and the Small Business Bureau, they actually help you. You might go, you may not have your business registered as yet. And they can tell you, I will give you this letter to go to NIS. And they would walk you through registering the business. So I'm saying that the support is there. You have to seek it. Because for Outlier Zone, how did I finance that business? I went into a competition. A competition that they were offering mentorship with an idea. I was placed with a mentor. And the top three, I believe it was 300,000 euro winning for first, 200 for second, and 100,000. And that is where I went in, and that is where I was able to access that coaching, because it's not always about the money. Because if you don't know what to do with the money, even if somebody give you 500,000 and then you go and put it into something and it's gone,
True.
the mentoring is more important. So I would say look for competition. There are avenues out there with people who would hold your hands to get you walking the right way. A business is your baby that you want to love and you want to care and you want to feed them the right things so they can grow.
Yes, Natalia, I'm going to allow you to get off on that. So, what advice would you give the persons who are genuinely struggling with business and want to give up?
One advice. You use a lot of words that I basically stay away from, and
Okay.
that is struggling,
Mm-hmm.
give up.
Mm-hmm.
What is the reason that you're doing your business? What is the reason that you've started your business?
Mm-hmm.
Is it that you have something that could change people's lives? Is it that it can make their lives better?
Mm-hmm.
Then remember why you started and why you need to continue. I remember when I was last year teach a child to save school tour. When we were going to Linden, Essequibo, and Berbice, we wanted 10,000 children to learn about this money management and stuff. And I remember going to sponsors, several sponsors, and it was no, 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 no.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked myself, why am I doing this? Why? Why am I going to people and asking them to sponsor these children to teach them? And then it hit me that if I don't teach them, who will do it? Whatever you're doing, if you don't do it, who can do it like you can?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, find a way. It's in your DNA to figure things out. And just look for the opportunities that can help you to get to the next step. Don't think of everything all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I kept going, and what I saw that the companies that sponsored, it wasn't the large companies.
Mm-hmm.
It was like growing companies. So the thing that I learned is not how much you have that you give.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people give and they have small, I'm telling you, these are small companies that say, listen, I'll sponsor 100 children.
I've learned that.
And we're able to build community.
Mm-hmm.
My word to you tonight is remember the legacy that you're building and you're creating for your generation. And if that could be the thing that is leading your heart. And finally, I would say you could listen to anything and the person, they can say do this or do that.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the foundations in our training program, it's be, do, and have.
Mm-hmm.
And we learn this in Action Invest as well. There's certain things you want to have. You will have certain things you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, what we focus on is who are you being
Mm-hmm.
when you're doing this business. Because sometimes you might qualify for a grant or something and you may not get through. But who are you deciding to be regardless of the struggle?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to give up? Are you going to give in? It's all about who you are being.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be sold on your idea that it is changing life and my business is making a difference. And once you're sold on the idea and you're okay with your price, because that's another thing. A lot of persons, a lot of us, we undercharge
Mm-hmm.
because we want to know your worth.
Closest sale.
Be, embody that courage, that strength, and present your business. Even if you don't get the client, don't let your self-worth be tied to the success of the business.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say that again. Don't let your self-worth be defined by the amount of money you have in the bank, the business success or failure, but be the embodiment of success.
Mm-hmm.
And then it will continue to attract in what you do.
Nice. And I see some persons on our live are supporting what you're saying and they're joining in the discussion. I see Monica Passad, Baby Passad, Keisha Gittins, Marcia Truss, and several other persons joining in on our live and commenting. And I'd like to thank them for doing that as well. So, Atalia, it has been a pleasure discussing with you. Quickly, just give us a recap on give us the overview of your business and let persons know how they can find you.
Okay, so Outlier Zone Caribbean, we are on Facebook, we are on TikTok, but the most thing that I would like for you to set tonight is that we are a FIRE company, financial independence, retire early, and ideally you can set a date as to when you want to have some amount of financial independence, meaning something working for you. If you're employed, you can use your salary as a tool to build wealth. If you're from a corporation and you would like for us to book us to come in to work with your team to get them in some amount of financial planning so that they can come to work and focus and increase productivity, then you can contact us on 623-4386. 623-4386. You can follow us on Facebook, Outliers Zone Caribbean. And just think about that legacy tonight. If there's anything that you're taking away from tonight, is your legacy. What kind of legacy you want to create, what inheritance you want to give to your children, and just take action now.
And one question before you close, because you're talking about legacy. What should we expect from Outlier Zone within 2 to 3 years? Or that would be your retirement period?
Well, 2026, that's my year
Okay.
for financial independence. And this was set since 2016.
Nice.
I had given myself 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
What can you expect? Of course, we want to do more training with the children.
Mm-hmm.
We also will be working with a number of companies
Mm-hmm.
who are investing in their employees and with those financial plans, so that, because the thing is, there are two types of employees.
Mm-hmm.
There's survival employees and thriving. A survival employee is one who they get paid and then within a short amount of time money's over. And then they're at work, they're a bit stressed, they can't really focus. Compared to a thriving employee whose personal goals are aligned with the company, they're using their salary, they know how to use their salary to generate more income, and they're getting the things done. So ideally, when we work with companies, is so that we can have more thriving employees who can be innovative in your business. And that's why we're being called in.
Nice.
Right? So you can expect more training with companies, more work with the children, and our anniversary, our 5th anniversary is in February, and we have some great things coming up, so you can follow us.
Nice. So just can we mind your business a bit? Let us know some of the companies you would have done work with, and if you want to say a shout out to them, feel free.
Sure. One of the companies that we've been working with since 2019, and they continue to call us when they have staff going off on retirement.
Okay.
So that's the Guyana Water Inc.
Big up
company.
GWI.
We've been working with GPL, Guyana Power and Light. We worked with Bacorp. We worked with the Palms,
Nice.
Parliament Office. They can come, but that's what I remember for right now.
Okay,
But we've
nice.
been able to work with about 30 companies thus far. So
Nice.
if you're looking and you know you're part of a company, we work with the ministries as well. You can reach out to us, because I know budget just passed. A lot of people are saying, like, we want you, but we got to wait to let the budget pass first. But yeah, we work with Office of the President as well. Yes, so you can reach out to us because we have a training calendar, and once that's booked, it's booked.
So you guys are willing to travel to different parts of the country and maybe overseas to do this kind of training?
Well, because of virtual life, we don't necessarily have to travel. But we do train persons outside of Guyana virtually. That's why it's Outlier Zone Caribbean.
Oh, nice.
So we serve Guyana first, and then we serve other countries.
Nice. So the online training is indeed effective.
Yes.
Lovely. Anything else you'd like to share before we close?
Set that date. Set that financial independent date tonight. Grab your loved one and y'all sit and think about what is it we want out of 2023. Set that date and talk about what is it we want to give to these children. Not leave, but give to them as an inheritance. Because like you didn't get any inheritance, correct?
No.
I didn't. But my children, that is not happening. And you get the opportunity to set that for your children as well. Exactly what you want to give to them. What you want to invest in. Because it's some of us, we're sitting under a tree that someone planted. And that's how we can get the shade. Plant some trees so that your children, they can see like, yeah, My father or great grandfather, he planted this for us.
Nice.
Do it. You can. I believe in you.
And thank you so much for sharing, Natalia. It's been a pleasure having you here, and I definitely will be reaching out to you so that I can learn about this fire movement and how I can get my finances in order because I want to retire soon so I can be able to travel and do all of these nice things. And I've been saying to somebody, when you're poor, you cannot see how beautiful the world is because you cannot afford to travel and go several places. Some of us have never been to Kaieteur Falls. Some of us have never been in an airplane. And we want to travel to see the world and to see Guyana. So I definitely will be reaching out to you so that I can get more information and I can be pointed in the right direction. And for persons who are looking and you know of companies and individuals per se who may be able to benefit from similar training, feel free to reach out to Outlier Zone, Guyana and Caribbean so that you can begin your process of retiring early and getting your people in order and getting them to save to be able to hand down to their generation and to be able to survive. Particularly as persons are talking about access to finance and the difficulties that are available and so on. Notwithstanding, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for taking time out from your busy schedule to be here on yet another Tuesday night. We've had a great guest in studio, Miss Atale Israel, and next week we have another exciting guest who will be here to share information about their business. And if you guys are wondering who is coming, be sure to tune in next Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 so that we can have a grand show. Remember to share our live stream. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to look out for our program, Entrepreneurship in Focus, and we can be able to provide you with information on the businesses that are out there and their unique, innovative components. Should you want to sponsor our show, feel free to reach out to the Guyanese Critic Facebook page or reach out to me on 652-1959. Remember, I'm your host, Marilyn Joseph. Together, we win. Do take care.